Hi guys, it's the Nerd Assassin here. It's gonna start my first series here of Spiritual Sunday. I'm reading from an NIV version of the Bible, and I'm gonna start with Ecclesiastes. I think this is a really good book, especially in times of struggling. It really tends to put stuff in perspective and show you how the stuff of this world, no matter which route you take, is not going to be your route to happiness. So let me start here. We're going to start with Ecclesiastes chapter 1. And the way this will work is I'll start by reading through, and then I'll just stop when I have some sort of commentary and my thoughts as I'm rambling through it. So, chapter 1, verse 1. The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What does man gain from all his labor at which he toils under the sun? So I think here he's starting with all of the work that you do, whatever you're trying to gain from it, money, status, it doesn't really matter. You're not getting anything from it. If I continue on with verse 4, generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. So he's building on this theme where the earth is going to be here long after you're gone, and it's been here long before you were here. The earth keeps spinning, the sun rises, the sun sets. So your amount of time here on earth is so short compared to the full length that the earth is around. We're basically nothing in the grand scheme of things. So continue on here with verse 8. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. So another option here, rather than some people are trying to spend all their time with work, whether that's trying to get money, trying to get status that we covered in verse 3. And this other one, verse 8, maybe somebody isn't trying to spend all their time here on earth with work. Maybe they're trying to go and get experiences. Maybe they're going and trying to travel the world, trying to see as many things as possible, try to have all their fun here on earth that they can have. But here it says the eye never has enough of seeing, and nor the ear its fill of hearing. So basically, experiences aren't going to fulfill you either. It's not going to be the work that you do. It's not going to be experiences. We continue on with verse 9. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new? It was here already long ago. It was here before our time. So in our short time here, we might feel like something's new and novel, but really all of these things that are happening in our life has been experienced by somebody before. And on to verse 11. There's no remembrance of men of old, and even those who are yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow. So we covered work, and we covered experiences. Those aren't going to fulfill you. Here we're going into somebody looking for notoriety. That's also, it's not going to help. It's not going to be lasting. The world is longer than that. There's very few people that we remember 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. You can name a few, but even those people will be forgotten. Even your children's children will end up being forgotten about. So your notoriety here on earth isn't something that's going to fulfill you either, because there's no way you can make enough impact on the world that you'll be remembered forever. On verse 12, I, the teacher, was king over Israel and Jerusalem. Yeah, this book was written by King Solomon, so that's who's talking here. I devoted myself to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under heaven. What a heavy burden God has laid on men. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. What is twisted cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. So Solomon's telling us what his personal journey was. He wasn't necessarily seeking to do as much work as possible. He wasn't looking, like we saw in verse 8, looking to get as many experiences as possible, or even verse 11, looking for as much notoriety as possible. His big passion on the world that he thought would fulfill him is to just gain as much wisdom as possible, to become one of the people who's studied the most to figure out, like, what does it really mean. And he said that all of them are meaningless. All of them are chasing after the wind. His study, his exploration didn't help him. It didn't fulfill him. That's also, so we covered work, we covered experiences, we covered notoriety, and now we covered wisdom. So I continue on in verse 16. I thought to myself, look, I have grown and increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. I experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. Then I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom and also of madness and folly, but I learned that this too is chasing after the wind. So he keeps following this like chasing after the wind, something that's meaningless, something you can't actually grab. You can chase and chase, and you're not going to grab the wind. You're not going to be fulfilled by chasing the wind. So he thought this wisdom would fulfill him on earth, and he found that that's also not there. And in the final verse, verse 18, for with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. So what he found is as he continued to grow in his wisdom, it didn't actually make him happy. It made him more sorrowful. The more knowledge he got, the more grief that he got. So this first chapter can seem really nihilistic. It can seem like, what am I supposed to do on earth here now? Is everything meaningless? The chapter, literally like the sub-chapter in this NIV version is, everything is meaningless, which sounds really nihilistic. But as we continue on this series, it'll be a 12-part series, one for each chapter in Ecclesiastes. You're going to see he's going to start giving us hints of what is actually meaningful. Everything in this earth is meaningless, but as we move along, we'll see what's actually worth pursuing and how to have the right perspective on those things. Thanks again, guys. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. I'll be at the Nerd Assassin. Thanks. Have a great spiritual Sunday.